A quiet, heartbreaking love story about two people who found each other at the wrong time, loved each other the right way, and lost each other without ever truly saying goodbye. They met on a rainy afternoon when the city seemed to be holding its breath. The cafe was nearly empty, the windows fogged with the warmth of coffee and unspoken thoughts. Mira sat alone at the corner table, pretending to read a book she had finished weeks ago. She liked sitting there because no one asked questions, and because the rain made everything feel temporary. Ethan walked in with water dripping from his jacket and a tired smile that looked like it had learned how to survive disappointment. He ordered coffee, glanced around, and hesitated before taking the seat across from her. The cafe was small, sometimes strangers shared tables. Mira looked up, their eyes met, and something quiet but irreversible happened. They didn't speak at first. Then he apologized for the intrusion. She smiled and said it was fine. That was all it took. They began meeting there without ever planning to. Rain or sun, weekday or weekend, they somehow arrived at the same time. They talked about small things first, music, bad movies, the way the city felt lonelier at night. Over time, the conversations grew heavier, layered with silences that felt safe instead of awkward. Mira told him she wrote letters she never sent. Ethan told her he stayed in a job he hated because it felt safer than hoping for more. They laughed softly, the kind of laughter that doesn't need to be loud to be real. Neither of them said the word love. But it sat between them, patient and observant. Ethan noticed how Mira always tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous. Mira noticed how Ethan's voice changed when he talked about his younger sister. They learned each other the way people do when they're afraid of the ending, carefully, completely, and too late. The first time he reached for her hand, it was instinctive. The rain was louder that day, the sky darker. Their fingers touched, and Mira felt something inside her break open. She didn't pull away. Neither did he. But love does not exist in a vacuum. Mira was leaving in 3 months. A scholarship, a new country, a life she had planned long before she met Ethan. She had told him this on their third meeting, like a warning label she hoped he'd read and walk away from. He hadn't. Ethan had reasons too, an ill father, responsibilities that tied him to the city like invisible chains. He couldn't leave. Not yet. Maybe not ever. They both knew the ending before the middle even began. Still, they fell. They spent evenings walking aimlessly, memorizing streets instead of futures. They shared playlists and secrets. Ethan kissed Mira under a streetlight that flickered like it was unsure whether to stay on. Mira cried afterward, not because she was sad, but because happiness felt fragile, like glass already cracking. They never talked about after. Only, now. As the weeks passed, time became cruel. Every laugh carried a shadow. Every kiss felt borrowed. Mira started packing her life into boxes, and Ethan started counting moments instead of days. The night before she left, they went to the cafe one last time. Same table. Same rain. I don't know how to do this, Ethan said, his voice breaking in a way Mira had never heard. Mira reached for his hand, held it like an apology. Neither do I. They talked for hours, or maybe minutes, it was impossible to tell. They said everything except the one thing that mattered most, stay. At the station, the train waited like a decision that could not be undone. Mira hugged Ethan tightly, breathing him in as if memory could replace presence. Promise me you'll be happy, she whispered. He nodded, even though they both knew it was a promise he couldn't keep. The doors closed. The train moved. Mira pressed her forehead to the glass until Ethan disappeared into the blur of rain and people and almosts. Years passed. Mira built a life that looked beautiful from the outside. New friends, new languages, a career she was proud of. Sometimes she laughed and forgot the sound of rain on cafe windows. Sometimes she didn't. Ethan stayed. He lost his father. He changed jobs. He learned how to live with absence the way one learns to live with a limp, by adjusting, not healing. They never stopped thinking about each other. But they never reached out either. Some loves are not meant to be reopened. They survive only in silence. One afternoon, years later, Mira found an old notebook. Inside was a letter she had written but never sent. I loved you, it said. Simple. Honest. Too late. At the same time, in the same city they once shared, Ethan sat in the cafe alone. Rain tapped gently against the window. He smiled sadly, because for a moment, he could swear he felt her there. Some love stories don't end with goodbye. They end with a lifetime of remembering what could have been.